remember this lady out of nowhere just goes, "You're about to quit, aren't you?" And I was like, yeah.
There's always moments that you want to give up. Being 100, it's easier to quit. But then I remind myself, if I quit, then what?
God calls the unqualified, and what God has for you is for you. There's literally nothing that can take you away from it.
My name is Shaye, and I am an all-around creative. I sing, act, write, executive produce, direct, dance. I'm originally from Washington, D.C. I was actually born on Howard University's campus. My mother, she was Miss Howard University of 1982, and then 10 months later, here I came. The rest of my family's from Philadelphia. My mom was the only one that kind of branched off into DC and stayed, so I was raised there. She got me started, dance classes, acting classes, all that type of stuff. She kind of had me in the arts. She was a singer, so I'm pretty positive I get my singing ability from her, but definitely needed to just kind of like hone in on those skills. I'm not the singer that like came out the womb just wailing. I actually am the one that like went to voice lessons to just like intensify and enhance that gift. The acting actually is the one thing that came natural to me. Never understood it. Talk about, your gift and your purpose kind of intertwining. My mother passed when I was 14 years old, so I had to move from DC to Delaware because Delaware is where my father lived. I praise God for my dad and my stepmom. They kept me in the arts just like my mom had me in the arts. So I did singing lessons and dance classes in Delaware. Didn't take any acting classes actually, but started getting cast in some independent projects and theater. Kind of hit the trail from there. That's when I started saying, I think I'm pretty good at this. I just found myself being a very big fish in a small pond when it came to Delaware and even Philadelphia. Shout out to Philly, but you know that there's more for you. You kind of got to push and press. New York, I ended up being a big fish there. And from there, it was like, if you really want to see if this thing that's in you is just a fluke or it's meant to be as massive as you feel it is, go to LA. Go to LA, see if you can become a whale. And that's what happened. That's how I got here. And I'm free willy right now, just busting out of captivity. I was in New York. I landed a singles deal with Interscope. I went through some stuff with her. I just had like bad management after bad management. I was able to connect with someone who was gonna get me out of my singles deal because my singles deal was ending, and they were gonna get me signed to another major label for an album deal, a few albums actually. And I remember like it was yesterday, we were sitting in my car in New York outside of the bowling alley because we didn't want the A&R that I was working with to find out that I was gonna leave him. And it was a week before Christmas. And they asked me, they said, what do you wanna do? Do you wanna go with Warner Brothers because they're interested? Would you like to go with Alicia Keys' new deal that she has with J Records? They'll put you in an artist house and this is that and the third, or So we decided on Warner Brothers and said, okay, well, nobody signs anything a week before Christmas, Enjoy your holiday and we'll see you at the top of the year. I'm like, great, this is gonna happen. It's my career. Ugh. January 1st comes, goes, I hear nothing. Second, I hear nothing. Third, fourth, fifth, sixth, finally the 7th, I get a call from A&R by the name of Sinclair. To this day, he's still one of my biggest mentors. He says, Lauren, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. I said, what? What is it? He said, the A&R that was signing you, he's been blacklisted. I said, what does that mean? He said, Lauren, that means that any and every artist that he was working with is gone because they were connected to him. And I said, well, okay, so what does that mean like about my deal? He said, that means there is no deal. And I said, okay, so how about like Alicia Keys' situation she has with J Records? He said, Lauren, the person that was gonna bring you to those different opportunities can't even enter the buildings anymore. He's been blacklisted. No one will work with him. And I said, what do I do now? He said, go home. Go back to Delaware. Keep writing, keep working. And I can promise you, as long as I got breath in my body, I'm gonna make sure that you get another deal. And it was just like someone had knocked the wind out of me. And no one was hooking me up with an inhaler. You hear about this stuff happening, but you never think it's gonna happen. You never think it's gonna happen to you until it actually does. And I just was like, I just can't do this anymore. I just fell apart, and I went back to Delaware, and I kept working on my music, and I did some showcases, and I got with some more management and did some stuff, but nothing ever really panned out. And I just was like, I just don't think that the music business is for me. In a way, I was right. The music business isn't for me. The entire entertainment industry is for me. And I think the biggest thing that I had to learn was every single gift that God has given me is to be used. I get that you think that this is it, but God has so much more for you than just this one thing. And if God himself got to block me, got to block that one thing just so I don't sell myself short, then he's willing to do that in order for me to take a step back, regroup, and start to hear him say, I have so much more for you than just this one thing. And every time I see a butterfly, it reminds me of this story that I was once told by Pastor Craig Oliver. He's based out of Atlanta. I don't know if he's still there. I pray that he is. And the story was there was a young boy playing in his garden. I mean, he was just, playing in the garden like kids do. And he actually saw this butterfly struggling to get out of his cocoon. So the little boy said, oh no, and he runs into the house and he grabs a razor blade, right? Like, the razor blade that you use is like shave. He cracks that, he grabs a little blade from inside it, and he goes to the cocoon and he just like lightly slits it. In his mind, he's thinking, okay, I'll just help it out. And he cuts the cocoon open and the butterfly pops out, but it falls to the ground. And the butterfly is like squirming, and now it actually really looks like it's not gonna survive. And it's just like, I don't understand. So he scoops the butterfly up and he takes it into the house to his dad. And he says, Dad, you gotta help me. And the father looks and he says, well, what happened? He said, well, I saw the butterfly, like struggling to get out of his cocoon. So, I slit the cocoon to help it. And the father just looked at him and he smiled. He said, son, you didn't help it, you hurt it. Because what you don't understand is, to us, it looks like they're struggling and it's a huge struggle for them to bust out of this cocoon. But what's actually happening is they're strengthening their wings so that when they do bust out of the cocoon, the wings are strong enough to fly. And I just feel like we go through so much and we're like, God, just get me out of this. Just get me out of this. Please, just get me out of this. And God is just like, just hold on. All I'm trying to teach you to do is fly. All I'm trying to do is strengthen your wings so that when it is time, you bust out of that cocoon and you go and you fly. Because that's what you're meant to do. You're meant to fly. You're meant to soar. You're meant to soar over every other thing in the garden. Don't be so afraid of the struggle. It's strengthening you. Embrace it. Every time I see a butterfly, I think of that story. That story has changed my life. It has changed my life. I pray it changes yours. People have failed me. I'm not even gonna lie to you guys about that. People have failed me in the biggest way. People have failed me. They've stolen from me. They've taken advantage of me. They've lied to me. But God has never failed me. God has never failed me. And if I just would have tapped into him a little bit sooner, his voice, right? I would have heard him say, don't you work with that person? Don't you trust that person? Don't you go that route? Or I would have heard him say, do not stop acting just because you can sing. Do not stop singing just because you can act. Use all of it. All of these gifts that you have in you, they are not just there to be rotting corpses within you. They're all to be used. How can my gifts be used today? That's what I would tell my younger self. Every single day you wake up and you pray, how can my gifts be used today? There's so many more gifts, so many more stories about how those gifts open so many doors. All of these doors are going to be opened for you. And it's all going to be because of every single gift that you have within yourself. Do not sell yourself short, little Lauren, by just thinking your one trick is, I could sing a song and I could sing it like nobody else. Girl, please. I think it's okay to give yourself a moment of rest. And when I say a moment, I do mean a moment. I don't mean a season. I don't, a moment of rest. If you feel like you're on overload, maybe you are. Maybe you are. Don't always just be about the work. Don't always just be about the goal. Don't always just be about, the destination. It's the journey as well. And if you got to take a moment to go to Huntington Beach or go to the Bahamas and just give yourself a moment of reconciliation, do it. I promise you'll hear from God, and you'll hear him say, it's not over. I know you're tired. But you're tired because you're leaning on yourself. You're not leaning on me. You're not going to be perfect. Nothing's going to be perfect, okay? It's never going to happen, right? If you feel like you want to quit, give yourself a day or 2 or a week. I promise you will come back because it's in you. It's in you. And what God put in you, no man can take from you. When I hear determined, I think of my mother. When I hear the word relentless, I think of Satan. Believe it or not, I do. I always tell people that, girl, Satan he really don't have no power. He's just relentless. He'll just keep trying to tap away. Learn that, and once you ignore him, you'll get past him faster. When I hear the word unstoppable, I think of myself. Can't stop, won't stop. I think of Diddy. Bad boy for life. Nah. Can't stop, won't stop. I think of the Yard Bros. I'm not being funny. I do. I think of the Yard Bros. Since I moved here, they were doing big stuff with productions. I didn't even know the ins and outs of productions, but they were just knee deep in it. And look at them now. They just can't stop, won't stop. Yard Bros to the end.